Hello everyone, same setup, same people. Again, this is Adam Steele.
Hi.
We did a video on the Orange Super Crush a couple seconds ago, but obviously you're going to see it like weeks apart. So we're going to do a similar video again where we're basically going to take a low-tuned guitar, in this case an Ibanez Iceman 7-string tuned to drop A, and we're going this time through the Orange OR15 amp.
It's even smaller.
Even smaller. This time it isn't solid state, it is a traditional tube amp. And again, we're going to be boosting it, but this time we are going to be using the Tumnus pedal from Wampler, who's here on behalf of Boutique Amps Distribution.
Yeah, so the Tumnus it's like a clone.
Okay.
Which is basically
clone,
a tube screamer,
yeah.
but with some small mods.
That's also like thousands of dollars.
Right? But it's small, so it's cheaper.
Yes.
It only costs $3,000 instead of $5,000.
Oh, so affordable.
Yeah. And so this is an EL84 based amp, and a lot of people assume that because they're smaller power valves, that they're going to give you a smaller tone. Doesn't have to.
Well, especially after we just were looking at the solid state one.
Oh yeah, if it's designed right, it can be terrifying. But that was a 100-watt amp, and this is 15.
True.
But if you're a studio kind of person, then you don't need killer volume. I've not heard this one yet, but I just know that from amp design, it doesn't have to be an absolute like ear bleeder to get a great tone.
For sure, yeah.
So let's see what we get.
Okay, so we're going to play without the boost first.
Yeah.
Going to dial me a tone and see how we sound. Okay, cool.
Well,
yeah,
that
actually has a lot of note definition.
Yeah, and a bit more of a bark, I think, than the Super Crush has.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, that's I think you said that's based off the rocker verb as well. But yeah, the gain I think is a little higher than I had on the Super Crush.
Right.
Just a tiny bit. I mean, from 5 to 6 instead of 9.
Right.
Like, just that little bit.
Well, and like you were saying, some of the controls on these amps are very sensitive, so you don't have to make giant movements to get a quite drastic result.
Yeah, it does have a 7-watt output as well, but we're on 15-watt. So let's see what happens when we boost.
Okay.
That's with the mids.
I love how we both make the same face at the same time. Like, yeah.
That's with the mids on 10.
Interesting. So way less mids than I would have expected.
No, like full.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, like not 10 o'clock, like just max.
I heard you the other way around and was like, the mids are at mid.
10 yeah, well, usually it's like clock faces.
No, that makes sense.
I pushed the mids to full then, and on this particular amp, I think that's the EL34 thing that they respond well to mids.
Okay.
And so the volume's only at halfway. If we get any louder than that on this amp, it's going to lose definition and turn to hell. Yeah.
So out of curiosity then, so what if we dropped it to 7 watts and you did boost the volume instead? Would that be similar, or should we just find out?
Let's find out. Just let it go first, and then. So I had to back the mids way off on the 7-watt mode because they kind of filled, I think, the power valves and just saturated it. The low end doesn't have that kind of thing.
Yeah, which I actually kind of prefer, I think.
Well, I suppose in the mix situation, that's something I would do. Yeah,
anyway. Exactly, because normally you would cut that out anyways.
Yeah, but that's something that I do as a mix guy, is I purposefully push more low end to make the cab do that woomph thing.
Right.
Then shelve it off. Because even when the actual low end's gone, it leaves you with that feeling of that woomph. So it kind of, in the stereo thing, it just makes it just chug bigger.
Right, okay.
But that's a mix thing. That's Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's not the way that I normally approach it at all. Like, I'm usually well, again,
It's
not
not
that
the way
I'm
a lot
using
of people
physical
approach it,
amps
honestly.
necessarily, but yeah, even in plugins or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm going to EQ it anyways, but before I EQ, I always tend to do those things beforehand.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Well,
That's the way I've always done it.
A lot of people don't do the way I think about it because they think, well, why would I bother? Because I'm going to remove the low end.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it's not about the amount of low end. It's about how the speaker pushes and pulls and reacts.
Okay, interesting.
Because, again, with modelers, it doesn't really do that. But
Yeah.
with actual valve amps, the valves through a transformer are connected to the speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And when you push a speaker hard, it pushes back. And it does a different thing to the amp. So even though there's more low end, it makes the amp behave in a more, well, I think, organic way.
Right.
That's where you get that thump sound that's
Okay.
hard to define.
Yeah.
Because even when you then take the low end out in the mix, it still does that whoomp, whoomp, thump, thump thing.
Right.
That's why I think a lot of modelers used to struggle with getting that thump, because it took a long time for them to realise that's in there, that's a part of it, that's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so even when you get like the resonance control on the amp and just go 10, then you're like, why is this still not right? And now I've got too much low end, and then you EQ it out.
Yeah.
And
Then you redo everything all over again.
Yeah, so the old modelers didn't know how to cope with that. The new ones, you get away with it and it works well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with valve amps, the reaction between the head and the cabinet, it's massive.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And so even on that's why on that 7-watt mode, that's why I would probably go for the 15.
Right. Because you would rather do it in post rather than doing it on the amp in the first place.
Well, but only with the thump of the low end, not just the general amount of bass.
For sure.
Because that's why now I've gone back to the 15 and I've pushed the mids again so that the low end isn't overtaking it.
Right.
I think you'll feel the low end now.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It was interesting because going the other way, my initial reaction, like I said, was like, oh, I like this better because there's less. But now that we switch back, I'm like, oh, I did kind of miss that actually.
And it's those little things like when you did a palm mute then, the higher strings seem like they can almost shut up.
Right.
And you get that woomph. And that is the reaction of the output valves and transformer kind of changing the way they behave. So the top end disappears for a split second.
Yeah.
And then when you stop palm muting, that resonance peak is gone. So you get clarity back. And it's so quick.
Yeah.
It's such a millisecond by millisecond thing, you don't think about it until someone says something. And then you can't unhear it. I'm sorry.
And now it's ruined for me forever. No, kidding. Okay, well, I'm pretty happy with that tone, and I think we'll call it at that for this video as well, probably.
Yeah. Prove that 100-watt amps are not the universal solution.
Exactly. So again, big thank you to Adam Steele. Go check out his channel. Thank you to 42 Gear Street. There's tons of other great videos from a bunch of other content creators like Adam on his channel, and many others, so be sure to go check them out. And again, big thank you to Ibanez, Wampler / Boutique Amps Distribution, and Orange for letting us use their gear for this video. I think that's all I have to say. Adam, you got anything to add before we go?
Go home.
Sounds good.
And if you're already home, go to bed.
Perfect.
And if you're already in bed while you're watching videos, go to sleep.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching. We'll see you later.